You're watching an Involve Me tutorial on how to integrate Involve Me with HubSpot. This integration lets you automatically add participants to your HubSpot contacts or update their properties. So let's take a look. In order to connect your integration, you have two ways of doing this. You could either click on this arrow on your desired project, which you want to make your connection with, and then click on Connect, which will take you to all the integrations. Or alternatively, if you're already, for example, editing your project, you could simply click on Connect right here at the top. Next, you're going to scroll down until you find the connection that you want to make. For us, that's going to be HubSpot right here, and then click on Connect. Of course, you have to have a HubSpot account for this. You're going to choose the account you want to connect, and then agree to the conditions, connect the app, and you get the confirmation that HubSpot was connected successfully. Now let's take a look at how we can actually set this up further. What you're going to want to do is click on Manage Custom Fields, and here on the top, you're met with only trigger integration when opt-in checkbox element was selected. There is a dedicated section on the opt-in checkbox, what it means and how to set it up at the very end of this video. But let's actually talk about data mapping now. There are really two types of fields that you're met with. Ones that you need to create within HubSpot, and once you do so, they are mapped in Involve Me automatically. That means that you need to create them in HubSpot exactly as they are right here inside of HubSpot fields. And you have many more of these when you scroll lower. Once you create this field in HubSpot, it will be mapped automatically. So country_code, for example, and we will see how we do this in just a moment. And then you also have custom fields right here. And these you have to create within HubSpot and then map them manually inside of Involve Me to the corresponding field that you want to map them to. So for example, if I want to see if somebody has subscribed to the newsletter, or if I want to know the answer to where would you like to advertise, I would need to set this up in HubSpot. In order to do this, we're going to need to go to HubSpot. We are going to click on the settings icon, the cogwheel icon, right here in the top bar. So what you're going to want to do is scroll down to Data Management and Properties. Then you can select an object. So for example, we can do Contact Properties. And then on the right side, Create Property. The property label is a unique name for the property. This is the name of the property as it appears in your HubSpot CRM, including on records and index pages. For example, a company name is a property label. Let's use one from our Involve Me form, and let's call it Advertise. Next, the object type. With this, you'll select the object that will be the property. By default, this is the object you selected earlier. Object type cannot be edited once it's saved. Next, we have group. Here is where you select the property group that the property will belong to. A property group is a label used to similar properties within an object. These are used only within the property settings. So for example, for us, it would be conversion information. This is the information that I'm going to use to convert my lead. And then you of course have the description where you can enter text to describe the property. This is not required in order for you to create a property. And last but not least, you actually have the internal name as well. Once a property is created, the internal name cannot be edited. Since the internal value of a property will never change, it should be used for integrations and APIs rather than the property label. And then on the left side, we're going to click to field type. And here in the drop-down, we're going to see which field type we want to use. For us, let's go for single line text. And as you can see, once I do that, more things appear here. So let's click on rules. Here you have further validation options that you can choose to tick or not, depending on your preferences. And finally, preview. So this is how your property would look like. Once you're satisfied with what you have, you can hit create. And just like that, Advertise was created. You get a little notification. And then once we hop back to Involve Me, what I could do is, what are your advertising objectives? I could click on this, and as you can see, the Advertise custom field that we just made is here, and then I can hit save. So what I effectively did is I created a custom field within HubSpot and then mapped it inside of Involve Me. You have learned how to create custom fields. Now, if you want to receive data from certain default custom fields, such as outcome or country code, then what you need to do is create them in HubSpot as exactly as they're shown in the column HubSpot fields. You can see this table on your screen right now. Feel free to pause the video and take a look at it yourself. So what custom field mapping essentially does, it allows you to capture and send additional data that you collect for your project's questions to your integration. That means that you can tailor the data that gets sent to your integration by mapping specific responses from your project to custom fields within your integration. Also, make sure that you choose the right field names and types for your integration, otherwise it might not work. For example, you cannot save a text property as a date property, or a text as a number. What's also good to know is that custom properties on existing contacts will be updated when the same email is sent again. So let's say somebody has filled in your form. You can then, by clicking on your contacts in your CRM, see the contact that has just filled in the form with your integration attached to it. This was my test with Trevor Walgreens, the email I collected, and all the additional fields that I had. As you can see, it even says primary company involve me right here. And inside of your responses, you can actually even see that the integration was triggered successfully. If this is not the case, and the integration was not successfully triggered, and you do not see the new contact in your CRM, then there might be an issue with how you either set up the connection or with how it is currently working. So let's take a look at some of the most common issues that you can have with different integrations. Now that you know how to use your integration, let's talk about some of the most common issues that you might have when trying to use an integration. I'm going to be showcasing this with one random integration, but just so you know, these principles are applicable to pretty much every application that InvolveMe has. So let's take a look. Let's first talk about the opt-in checkbox and the only trigger integration when opt-in checkbox element was selected. This option is recommended to be ticked for GDPR purposes, but ultimately it is up to you whether you want the integration to trigger once user consent has been collected or not. What often happens is users enable this option, but then do not set up the checkbox properly in order for the integration to trigger. So in case GDPR or similar purposes are not of any use for this, we recommend not having this option triggered. However, if you do need to trigger it, let's actually take a look at how you would set this up. So I am going to only trigger integration when opt-in checkbox element was selected, and I'm going to hit save. And once I hop into the editing part of my project, I'm going to look up opt-in checkbox in the elements and then drag and drop it right here. And then once I click on it, you can see under options on your right side, the send data to integration. So what you're going to want to do is click on this and find the integration that you would like to send the data to. Or if you have multiple integrations, by scrolling all the way down, you could just check all integrations and not have to worry about adding more integrations in the future. Also, make sure if you do put in this checkbox to have this enabled. Checkbox is required. Otherwise, your audience might fill in the form, not check the checkbox, and then what ends up happening is your integration doesn't get triggered. If you set it up like this, the integration will only be triggered once a submission has been completed and the audience member has also given the consent on the opt-in checkbox that triggers the integration. If the opt-in checkbox was not selected, then the integration will not trigger even if the participant finishes the project. If you do not need to gather user opt-ins, simply do not tick this checkbox. And this way, the data will be integrated once the submission is finished. So how do you actually see the status of your integration? By going to Responses in the top bar menu, then clicking on Responses again, and then choosing the specific response. By scrolling down, you can see the status of your integration. As you can see, one of my integrations has been triggered and the other one has not. The successful trigger has been indicated by the check mark next to my integration. If the integration is grayed out, it means that it is connected but has not yet been triggered. There are two other states for integrations that you can see on your screen right now, and the other statuses include pending or failed. If an integration fails, it will have a description that will help you further troubleshoot the issue if necessary. Make sure to click on the exclamation mark icon to get more information about the error itself. So, what happens to this grayed out integration? Well, you can actually trigger the integration retroactively. By clicking on the integration, you can choose to send submission data to MailChimp or any other submission that you have manually simply by clicking Send Now. And of course, you do not have to do this for every single one of your past integrations. What you can do is click this checkbox, send for all submissions for which the integration has not yet been executed. You check this, Send now. You can see that the status is pending, so that means that we're waiting for the integration to be triggered. And what will happen now is that this submission, as well as all of my past submissions, will be sent. Some other notes are that most integrations require an email address for them to work, but on your screen right now you can see the notable exceptions to this rule. Feel free to pause the video and see which integrations this is about. If you have any other more specific issues that you are having trouble solving, make sure to contact our support team and they will be able to help you in no time.